Well, hello. I'm so excited to have my good friend Marci on with us and her son Elliot. Say hi, Elliot.
Hey,
And Marci, how are you doing today?
So good. So good.
So good.
Good to be here.
I met Marci. It's got to be like 8 years ago now or so, and we all automatically seem to have this sort of thing where we got each other. We understood each other. We were just buds from the get go.
Yep.
Even when
Absolutely.
I was even when I was coaching you at CrossFit and trying to get you to do things you didn't want to do.
Exactly. Making me feel nauseated because you worked me so hard.
I mean, it's part of the experience, I think, part of the experience. Well, we are having you on today to talk about your son, Elliot, and he's sitting there right next to us. Elliot has Down syndrome, and he is just an awesome man. And Elliot, tell us a little bit about you. What are some things that you really are liking to do right now?
I love to play my room a lot.
He likes to play in his room a lot.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
20 years old. Oh man, that means you're turning 21 soon.
Yes.
Are you excited about that?
Yes, I am.
What are you going to do for your 21st birthday?
We're gonna celebrate.
Yeah, you're going to celebrate.
Yay.
We do.
Yeah, that's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Go say again, Marci.
We do a lot of big
Yes.
celebrations for this boy's birthday. He is a
Yes.
hero.
Yes.
Absolutely. What are some are you liking to do you like sports or movies, or what are some of your favorite things?
I love to play basketball.
Basketball. I like basketball too. I'm not very good at it, but I like it.
Elliot's really good.
Elliot's really good at basketball.
He is.
Yes.
Yeah, he helped the team at Roy High School.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Tom.
Awesome. Awesome. Did you do you have a favorite team that you like?
I like
Who's your favorite player?
Donna Mitchell.
Jonathan Mitchell.
Spider Mitchell is my favorite player too.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yes. Love jazz basketball. That's like my favorite thing to do is just sit down and watch jazz basketball. As a matter of fact, we got my son some of the Spider Mitchell shoes because we're big fans at our house.
Ooh, yay.
And he just signed a contract, so he's going to be with us for a while.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about your mom, Elliot. Tell us about your mom. Is she pretty nice?
Yes. Yes.
What's your favorite thing about your mom?
I have a family.
He has a family, and do we love you to pieces?
Yes.
And do we do fun things?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
And Mom loves to dance a lot, and she's a little crazy for dance.
I like to dance a lot, and I'm a little crazy with dance.
Yeah, we heard that loud and clear. I mean, maybe someday we'll get a special performance from you and your mom with dancing. Do you like to dance with her?
Yes, I do.
Yes, we dance a lot,
Yes.
Tim and I.
Yes.
Huh.
That sounds like a blast. And do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have a sister Lily. She's 10 years old, and I love her.
Oh, that's Lily, and she's 10 years old, and he loves her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Lily.
Hi.
You guys have a wonderful family. It looks like just a great time over there at your house.
Yeah, it's busy.
I bet it is.
Very busy.
Elliot, are you excited for Christmas?
Yes, I am.
Tell them what you asked for.
I'm getting a high school musical series.
High School Musical. Are you a big High School Musical fan?
Yes, I am.
He wants Zac Efron High School Musical jersey and posters.
Yeah, for the series, Mom.
For the series.
Of course. I mean, who's not a Zac Efron fan? Let's be honest.
It's true.
Pretty much everybody. If you're not, that's a problem you have, I think. Well, Elliot, it was so good to meet you. I'm really happy that I got that opportunity to meet you, and you got an opportunity to have you on the podcast.
Yay.
Yay. Okay.
Yay.
Can you go play in your room for a minute?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to talk to Kevin for a little bit.
Thanks so much, Elliot. That was fun.
Bye.
Such a fun, sweet boy. Yes.
Such a fun, sweet boy. I think all of our listeners got that just by listening to him for 5 minutes there or something.
He's very happy and sweet.
Absolutely, his smile was just beaming ear to ear that entire time during that conversation. It was a treat.
Thanks.
So take us. Well, first off, I want some of our listeners to know, because they may not know. Tell us a little bit about Down syndrome. How does it happen? What happens? And what is it like? Tell us just a little bit about that.
You bet. So Down syndrome isn't necessarily genetic. It happens right at conception, where the cells are dividing so rapidly. And what happens is the 21st chromosome just sticks. So every cell of Elliot's body has an extra 21st chromosome. And with that happening, it makes everything a little bit weaker. So he's just like you and I. He can do so many things. There's a broad spectrum from they can't walk, they can't talk, they can't speak, they can't hear, to someone like Elliot, who is very high functioning. And it just is because of that extra 21st chromosome that sticks right at conception. And it's been our greatest blessing having Elliot in our family.
Well, yeah, that's so when you say it's not genetic, it means that it's not necessarily like past, like you guys have it, and so someone else in your family is going to get it. It's not hereditary per se.
Right.
But it does have to do with the genome and that there's an extra chromosome there.
Right. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with age. So that's a misconception. When people get older, they think they are more prone to having a child with Down syndrome, but it's only because the amount of people that have babies when they're older is smaller. So it doesn't matter how old you are. I was 23 when I had Elliot, and it just happens sometimes, just like other things like autism and other disabilities that might happen. It doesn't matter your age.
Yeah. So take us back, almost 21 years ago, when you found out you were pregnant with Elliot. Tell us about that. Tell us where were you at in your life? What were you doing? And what was that announcement like, or feeling, or finding that out? Just finding out you're pregnant.
Well, okay. So I was 23. I got pregnant. I was in my last semester at Weber State University, and I was really close to graduating. And we thought, oh, okay, it'll be fine. I'll graduate, and then we'll have our sweet baby. Well, things changed as life happens, and Elliot, one time at work, he stopped moving. So I went to the doctor, and I asked for a stress test and to monitor him, and they sent me home.
So this is when you're pregnant and you're feeling him, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's not moving.
He's not moving. And I was really nervous because I couldn't feel him at all. And he was about 27 weeks along at this point. So barely viable at that point 20 years ago. And I went to the doctor. They sent me home and said I was a stressed out mom and everything's fine. But I went home and I felt so uneasy. And I drank a lot of orange juice and laid on my left side and tried to feel him at all, and I couldn't. And so I went back the next day and I told them, I'm not leaving until you find out what's wrong, because I can't feel my baby. And so they sent me to Dr. O'Sherrill, who is an awesome doctor, and he did more intensive ultrasound for Elliot. And he said, he was very quiet while he did his ultrasound and didn't say much. And then he said, "What did you have for breakfast?" And I told him what I had for breakfast. And he said, "Okay, we have to wait an hour and we have to take this baby because he won't last another 24 hours." And so I waited the hour, and they took me in for emergency C-section. They did a classical C-section because they wanted it the least invasive for Elliot because he needed to survive. This was 20 years ago.
Wow.
And it was hard to save babies at 27, 28 weeks. And they took me in for my C-section, and Elliot was born. And he was 1 pound, 11 ounces. Just the tiniest little thing. He was long as a dollar bill. We have a
What?
Elliot right next to a dollar bill. He was so tiny. His head was the size of a tennis ball. And my husband at the time could put his wedding ring all the way over his thigh. That's how tiny this little tiny baby was. And McKay Hospital was amazing. They saved his life and did a great job, but it was a long journey. Elliot struggled and was on 7 to 8 pumps of different medications and things like that to keep him alive for almost 4 months. He was on a ventilator. He didn't even look like a baby when he was born. He was so tiny. But
and at what point did you find out that he had Down syndrome?
Oh, it was like 2.5 months in, because Elliot had
Into your pregnancy or after he was born?
After he was born, because they couldn't do proper blood tests to find out because he had so many transfusions. So it would mess up.
Oh, wow.
So
because he didn't have his own blood.
He didn't have his own blood.
Whoa.
And my family donated blood. My dad, he had the perfect blood type, which is very rare. And my dad donated blood and kept Elliot alive in those early months when he was so tiny. And they did the tests and at 2.5 months, but we already knew. I already felt it in my heart. And so they did the blood test. And when the doctor came in and said, Elliot has Down syndrome, I said, I know. And so we had already prepared mentally. It's a difficult preparation for that, only because you lose a lot of the dreams and hopes that you have for your children, like marriage, which Elliot can get married, or children because he's sterile. And it just changes your perspective on life completely.
Yeah.
And makes you appreciate those tiny things.
So tell me what were you feeling at this moment? You have a son who's fighting for his life. You have a feeling inside that you know he has Downs, and then you get that the doctor tells you. What are the emotions around that as you're trying to digest all the things you just talked about, but also, you know, you have a child that's fighting for his life?
I think the part about fighting for his life was much more difficult than the Down syndrome diagnosis, because I knew no matter what, Elliot would have an amazing life as long as he lived, because he had 2 great parents that loved him and adored him. But we didn't know from day to day if he was going to live or die. That was difficult. That was difficult for both of us, Alex and I. And
bet.
Alex is his dad.
I bet. Mm-hmm. And so what point did he start to, you think he's going to make it through this? And at what point did you get to take him home?
Oh man, he was 4 months old and we got to take him home. He was on oxygen. He was on a heart monitor. He was 4.5 pounds. And I was terrified. My first child. And I didn't know what to do. But I had been at the hospital so much with him. and spent so much time with him by his little isolate where he grew as a tiny little 1.11 pound baby. So I kind of knew him, but I was still really scared and paranoid. So he was on oxygen for a year. He was in his baby carrier, and he had his oxygen and his heart monitors, and we kept him covered. But really, for the first year, I didn't go anywhere. I just held him all day and cuddled him and bonded with him. And
sounds like a real precious time there.
It was a real precious time, and he flourished, and he did well, and he gained weight. He had food issues, so we had to get Nutramigen, which was a really expensive formula, and he had issues because of Down syndrome. It makes you a little bit weaker in every aspect: your hair, your skin, your eyes, your digestive system, your heart. Everything is a tiny bit weaker than you and I, Kev. We had to adjust and make our life about Elliot. But we also knew that he needed a sibling that would help him. So soon after Elliot was born, we had a second child, Andrew, and I was terrified the whole time that he would be born not with Down syndrome.
The dog, it is happening at your house. Everything's happening at your house. I love it. Is that you have a dog? Is it a puppy?
We have a dog. Yeah.
It's a cute dog. But okay, keep going.
So we had Andrew, and I was very nervous because not about Down syndrome. I didn't care if I had every child with Down syndrome. It was about prematurity. It was about being healthy. And at this point, Elliot is this happy, joyous little toddler. He couldn't walk, but he would scoot.
How far apart are they?
They're 17 months apart.
Okay.
So really, really close.
Yeah.
And Andrew was born. He came a little early, but he was like 6 pounds, 11 ounces, which was so big to me. Yeah. And he has been Elliot's partner in life since the very beginning. Andrew walked before Elliot. He talked before Elliot. And Andrew, he's been the basketball team at Roy High and junior high. And he is a 4.0 student, and he just has been Elliot's rock. He has helped Elliot learn to walk and talk. And we worked with Elliot through programs through the state to help him to be able to be as at the best level Elliot can be. We want him to have the best life he can. We want him to be as happy as he can and accomplish everything in his life that he wants to accomplish.
It sounds like Andrew turned out to be that exact vision you had when you thought he needs a sibling, and Andrew turned out to be like the exact thing you envisioned in your mind of having a sibling to help him through all of that. That's pretty incredible.
It is incredible. I remember Andrew would run around and Elliot would scoot by pulling himself with his legs. So we nicknamed Elliot Scooter because he would be as fast as Andrew and just tear across the floor. But he didn't have the strength in his legs to hold his body up. So Andrew would help encourage him. And one of my neighbors brought over what they call a standing machine. And it's for kids with cerebral palsy or things like that to help them gain strength in their body. And I remember the first time I saw Elliot stand upright, he was strapped in at his calves, at his thighs, at his waist, at his arms. And he stood for the first time, and he looked so tall to me. And all I could do was sob. And he was almost 3 years old at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. And from that point, we worked with his muscles and got him strong enough. And eventually, with a walker, he was able to stand, and then he would walk around with a walker. And he learned to walk on his own at 3.5 years old.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. So tell me, how did you, as Elliot's developing, did you have any help from, government agencies and different things as you're trying to figure out how to navigate this and how to best help Elliot grow and develop?
Yes. From the very beginning, when we came home, we had the most amazing therapists come over from the state, early intervention. And I still love them dearly and keep in contact with them. And they would come and do activities with Elliot to help him with his fine motor. Elliot struggles with his fine motor, holding pencils, things like that. And they would help him with his standing, showing me exercises, massage, in order to keep his muscles strong and get him stronger. And then we had, after early intervention, he went to a preschool. Canyon View Elementary had a preschool for special needs kids, and they were amazing with him, teaching him and trying to teach him his colors. And later we found out Elliot has he can't distinguish colors. But now Elliot has learned how to write his name. He has learned so many things. And I think it was a lot of the reason is because of those early intervention days. We did flashcards with him and we worked with him every day. And it was just an amazing program. Early intervention is amazing for those that have special needs kids.
Yeah, one of the things we talk about on this podcast is we share people's experiences that are, in vulnerable communities, and we talk about how important, a role that government and other people can play in helping these communities develop and live great lives. And it sounds like you had that experience early on as he is developing, and you are trying to find all the ways to help him. Was it tough to navigate that? Like as far as trying to find the right help and was it tough to navigate that, or was it easy to find the resources that you needed?
Well, I'm sure in some communities, in some parts of the United States, it would be difficult. But for me, the hospital set it up. And
Awesome.
so they just got right involved. As soon as Elliot and I came home from the hospital, they were there to help. And it wasn't a problem for me, but I know that if you just Google early intervention, if you have a child that needs special help, they would definitely come out and help. And it was all free of charge. And that is amazing because we were poor. So yeah, it was really, really a great experience for me. So
And so what's school like? He's growing, he's developing. You got through preschool. What's elementary, junior high, and high school like for Elliot?
So he went to preschool, and I remember the day that one of his teachers emailed me and said, Elliot doesn't seem like he feels good. He's not using his left leg. He's struggling with his right arm. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but he doesn't feel good. So I went and picked him up. And we took him right to his pediatrician, which she is the most amazing thing. She would come to our house and check on Elliot. Just a minute, honey. And she did house calls free of charge to come and check on Elliot. And he wasn't using one of his arms. He wasn't using one of his legs. And we started getting really concerned that it was neurological. So we took him to Primary Children's Hospital. And that was just before Christmas of 2004, I remember. And they did all these tests and they weren't quite sure what was going on. So they needed to do a bone biopsy of his leg because he wasn't using that leg, and they saw a lot of inflammation in his leg. And so we did a bone biopsy, and the doctor came in, and I already knew. It's weird. Sometimes moms just know. But he came in, and I remember he put his knees against my knees, and he looked in my face, and he said, your son has leukemia. And that was another game changer in this life for my sweet Elliot. And he said, we need to start treatments immediately. It's throughout all of his bone marrow, and it's saturated with leukemia cells. And if you want him to survive, we have to start now. So 2004, we started chemotherapy and treatments for Elliot. And that was a whole nother dynamic. That was harder than when he was 1 pound, 11 ounces, because we had all these memories and we had all of this history with our sweet son. And now he was fighting leukemia. And it is more prone with children, people with Down syndrome, because their immune system is weaker. We all have leukemia cells in our body, but we can fight them off because we have a proper immune system. But sometimes with leukemia, it overwhelms a body that has a little bit weaker immune system. So I know many parents that have children with Down syndrome that have also dealt with leukemia. And Elliot had the less severe leukemia. He had ALL leukemia, which is a lymphoblastic leukemia. And the survival rate 20 years ago was about 80%. And so we started the leukemia treatments. At that time, I had Andrew, who was 2, and Oliver, who was 6 months old.
Oh my goodness, Marci.
I know.
Wow.
It was a rough time. We lived at Primary Children's for 3 out of 4 weeks, and we never left Elliot's side, not for a second. We had food brought up, and he just didn't know what was going on, and he had a feeding tube for 4 years. Elliot had a feeding tube because he wouldn't eat. And at one point when he was 4 years old, he only weighed 23 pounds because he wouldn't eat. So we went through a lot with leukemia and getting him well.
And at the time, you're spending all this time at Primary Children's, medical issues. Are you guys insured? Is Elliot through available for Medicaid? What's the, you talked about financial situation, that you were poor. How are you able to navigate that at the time as well?
Well, at the time, my then husband had really great insurance. And so it covered 100% of his medical issues at that time. When Elliot got cancer and was on a ventilator, then there's a very, very long list of people that are trying to get on Medicaid. And Elliot was at the bottom because of his Down syndrome, until he got cancer and then was on a ventilator and a feeding tube, and he had a port in his chest for his medications. Then he was bumped to the top, and he was able to get Medicaid, which covered any additional expenses for our family at that time. And that's what saved us.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine, having going through what you're going through. Elliot, and again, you're up against him fighting for his life. And at least that's something that you didn't have to think about, was the finances. Because no parent, that's just not something a parent should have to think about in that situation. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, that's really great that you were able to navigate that, both have insurance and Medicaid, and be able to not have to, at least, I mean, you had to worry about it because you had to enroll him and do all of that, but
right.
And navigate that process. But once it's in place, then you can just worry about him and his health.
And we had a great caseworker, and they helped us navigate through all the paperwork and all of that. And our community of South Weber had a garage sale, and they raised a bunch of money for us to help with added expenses, because I wasn't working. Alex couldn't work as much. He was working as minimal as he could because we had 2 little babies at home. And I remember they raised a great deal of money to help us navigate those years when Elliot had cancer. So our community was amazing.
So how long did it take for the cancer to go into remission?
He was diagnosed in 2004. In 2008, April, he had his last treatment. And I mean, there are many, I could go on for hours about the stories that he went through in those 4 years. And it was really tough. At one point, he couldn't sit up or stand. At one point, I remember when he was losing his hair and he had a feeding tube, but he hadn't seen himself. He couldn't sit up by himself. And I had given him a bath and I was holding him in a towel, and he looked in the mirror and he said, "Scary, I'm scary." And that was a really tough moment for me when I see this fragile little boy struggling for his life, but knows he is loved 100%. And so the navigation through those 4 years was really tough on our family. You know, I mean, there was no time for date nights or anniversaries or celebrating birthdays. I missed my son Oliver's first step, his first word, his first birthday, because I was at the hospital. And it just was a very difficult time. But when Elliot had that last treatment, and I do have to add, they sent us Make-A-Wish, which is another great, amazing organization, sent us to Disney World. And Elliot came off oxygen, and we thought he was strong enough. So we went to Disney World, and they treated him like he was a king.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. Yes. These government programs, these nonprofit organizations that have helped us through our lives have done amazing things. Elliot had a great time. He got to meet all the characters. He never stood in a line. We had so much extra spending money that we came home with a little bit because they gave us so much, and we bought all these souvenirs that people had donated to Make-A-Wish.
And how old was he when you got to go to Disney World?
He was 7 at that time. He was still on treatments, but he wasn't on oxygen. So we thought, okay, we can take him. And it was amazing and magical. So Make-A-Wish is another great program. That
my kids are 8 and 6, so I can just imagine them at Disney World. But the context of him having gone through what he's gone through, and you and your family having gone through what you've gone through, and to be able to do that just had to have just been
magical.
A moment when you could try to just forget everything that had happened and just enjoy each other and enjoy life. Elliot's he's probably around, he's 7 years old, entering first or second grade. What is school like for Elliot?
So Elliot started in kindergarten, and he was in the special needs unit, and they were amazing. The teachers, they helped him. They knew of his immune system issues. So anytime anyone had a cold or flu or anything, they would let me know so I could take Elliot home and keep him with me. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. I had 3 kids at the time. And just to try and keep him safe from anything that might hurt him with his immune system being low. But he did really well. He went through elementary school at Canesville Elementary. He went to Sandridge Junior High, and he was a king there. And the kids there, because they are so involved with other kids with special needs, they treated him like a king. I remember my son Oliver, who would walk with me through all the halls to get Elliot to his contained unit, his special needs unit at Roy High School. And Elliot would be hugged 50 times and high-fived all through the halls. And I remember my son, who was young at the time, said, "Mom, Elliot is a celebrity." And Elliot, that's how he feels. He feels like he is the most amazing, special person on the planet. And that's what I want for him. And he's very, very happy. And he's doing really well. He graduated from high school 2 years ago. He was homecoming king. And he went to dances, and the kids there treated him amazing. They asked him to dances, and were good friends with him. So he is quite a character at school. He's funny.
Sometimes kids are nice, you know. I mean,
They were
that's an
so
amazing story, you know. I just think so much about what kids are going through in junior high and high school, and how hard that time is, and that kids would think outside of themselves in those moments and take care of Elliot is pretty incredible, really.
It really is. And I think a lot of that is because they knew Elliot is pure acceptance. Elliot is pure love. And so they felt that from him. So they gave it to him in return. And
that's so true about any of our relationships, right? Like if
yeah,
we are able to, you know, you want someone in your life that gives you that feeling, and then you're able to reciprocate that back.
right.
He's a great example of that. You can tell.
He is. He is. He is a great example of many wonderful things.
So what's next for Elliot?
So Elliot right now is home. He stays home only because COVID, we're nervous. He has bipulmonary dysplasia in his lung because he was on the ventilator so long. So if he were to get COVID, it would be very detrimental to him, especially because he has a little bit lower immune system. He has a harder time fighting colds. When he gets sick, he gets really sick. But he fights it off and does well. And so far, he's been good. He has avoided COVID.
How's that with your family? I mean, because you have other kids, right, that are in school. Are they doing online school? How are you navigating that?
Right now, they are online school. They are going back soon to their schools. Hopefully, Elliot's on the top of the list to get the vaccine. So we will get him vaccinated, as well as our other kids in the house, to keep him safe. And that is a great program. I'm so grateful that for all of the scientists and all the people working sleeplessly to get us a vaccine for Corona, so that all of us can survive.
That's going to be a happy day.
Happy day.
I guess he's over. I was going to say, so are they going to give it to your other kids? I know that it's not tested on younger kids. Have you looked into that? And from what I had heard, it wasn't available for anyone under 18. Are they going to able to work around that?
I'm not sure about that. I'm hopeful that they can give it to my other kids just to keep them safe from Corona, so that it's not passed to Elliot. My other kids, I think, would do fine. I've had it. I had Corona. It was 2 weeks of miserable, felt like a terrible, terrible cold, but the headaches were horrible. The ears were ringing. You couldn't smell or taste, and just feeling really yucky.
How did you navigate that with Elliot?
Well, his dad and I are not married. So he was at his dad's when I contracted COVID. And so he stayed there until I was completely immune, and I got a test and I was negative. And
what a relief.
So
what a relief that he was there when you were able to.
Yes. What a relief.
And it's nice that you're immune now. So
I have the Corona veil, I call it.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous of that.
I know. So now he's in a program called the Life Program, which is an amazing program, and it's state funded. And he goes to school when Corona's over. He'll go back, but when he goes to school, they teach him life skills. Like, sorry, my dog is growling at a neighbor.
Perfect. I love it. It's life at the Ray house.
Yes. So he goes to the Life Program, and they teach him safety skills. They teach him work skills so that he is able to have a job. And he ultimately wants to work for Roy High School. And they have a person with Down syndrome, Kip, who works at Roy High School right now. He's 43. And Elliot would work alongside him and help, cleaning up with the after the assemblies and help with anything they need that Elliot is capable of. And so that program is in state, and they are amazing. They have him go to job sites. He's worked for a time with an assistant at Pizza Hut, at Kent's grocery store in the produce section. He has done so many fun jobs that have helped to create a sense of security when he does enter the job workforce. So that's another great program that they do.
I think what what I'm hearing about that is this really neat mix of community and government that is able to rally and help and just create a wonderful life for Elliot.
Yep.
Elliot, you're back. I'm so happy you came back in. We were just wrapping up.
Yeah.
You have a wonderful mom. We just heard all about your story and everything that you have been able to overcome in your life. You're pretty awesome, Elliot.
You are a hero, huh?
Yeah.
You're a hero.
Tell us what it was like to be homecoming king.
What was it like when you wore your crown and you went to the dance and you were in the assembly?
Yeah, I was in the assembly, yes.
Yes. And you're a great dancer.
And I love to dab.
He loves to dab.
You do. Give me your best dab right now. Boom.
Boom.
Oh, nailed it. That was amazing. Well, that was incredible. I'm so happy I got to experience and hear your story, Elliot, and to meet you. Marci, did you have anything else you would like our listeners to know about Elliot, or about just raising and having a family with someone that has special needs?
Something I would like people to know that are going through a chronic illness or have a child with special needs is there are avenues out there to help parents. I think the mental health of parents is very key in order to help these beautiful, amazing humans grow and do well. But I didn't take advantage of it growing through all of this. And I wish I had reached out to maintain my mental health and my ex-husband's mental health to navigate these processes, because it is very difficult on parents. It affects your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, your monetary. Every aspect of your life is affected in very many good ways, and you grow and change and become stronger, but also it can be very, very difficult, especially if you're doing it alone. And I know there are probably many parents out there that are doing it alone. And I am not one of those. Alex is an amazing father and helps Elliot and does everything he can to make his life the best he can, and also my other children. But there are parents out there that don't access those avenues for mental health for you as you're going through it. I would recommend that.
Yeah, there's an element of, for anyone struggling, and there's lots of reasons to struggle as you're going through all the things you did, but there's an element of just someone that you have to be able to say, I need help.
Maintaining yourself is very important. Yeah,
absolutely. And so I think what I'm hearing is, don't be afraid to say I need help and reach out to services.
Don't be afraid to say I need help, because there are people like me who are willing to help. And there are avenues out there that can help families going through this. And if anyone out there needs help or needs advice or someone to talk to, I'm a good avenue.
Thank you so much, Marci and Elliot.
Thank you, Kevin. You are a champion, and you are my brother from another mother.
That's right, sister. Bye, Elliot. It was so good to meet you.
Yes.
He told me around here that's a lot of fiddle. I troll in the block, I swear it's hard, not the middle. Or that was just a peek at what the next man doing. The situation report.
Community Spread is a Deep State Media production. It's produced by me, Kevin Lundell, and directed and edited by Dan Martinez.